In 2010, the internet was worse in almost every measurable way. Websites were slower, videos buffered constantly, search results were less accurate, phones were clumsier, and half the time, things simply did not work. And yet, millions of people insist the internet was better. That should not make sense. Today, the internet is faster, smarter, and more useful than anything we had before. So why does it feel like something important has disappeared? Why did the internet stop being fun? The obvious answer is nostalgia. People do not miss the old internet. They miss being younger. They miss coming home from school, watching YouTube, talking to friends, and having fewer responsibilities. And that is probably part of it. But it does not explain everything. Because people who barely remember the old internet are now trying to recreate it. They use old digital cameras. They add artificial noise to perfect images. They bring back ugly fonts, chaotic websites, and low-resolution video. They are deliberately making the modern internet look worse, which suggests that the thing people miss is not only the past. It is something the internet used to have, something it lost. To understand what disappeared, think about how people once used the internet. You sat down at a computer, you opened a browser, and then you made a decision. Maybe you visited a forum. Maybe you checked a blog. Maybe you opened a strange website someone had sent you. The important part was that you had to go somewhere. The internet did not immediately know what to show you. It waited. You entered an address. You clicked a link. You followed one page into another. It was less efficient, but you were exploring. Today, the experience begins differently. You unlock your phone, and something is already waiting. A video starts playing, then another, then an argument, then a cooking tutorial, then a stranger explaining why their relationship ended, then an advertisement. You did not choose any of it. The internet chose the first step for you. And once that happens, the second step becomes easier. Then the third. Then 40 minutes disappear. The old internet asked, "Where do you want to go?" The modern internet asks, "What can we show you next?" But choosing where to go is not the only difference. The old internet also had an ending. A website ran out of pages. A forum ran out of new posts. A channel had no new videos. You could reach the end. And when you reached it, you stopped. You got bored. You called someone. You went outside. You started making something yourself. Boredom was not always pleasant, but it created a boundary. The modern internet has removed that boundary. The feed does not end. There is always one more clip, one more headline, one more reaction. And when something becomes infinite, each individual piece begins to feel less valuable. You can watch 50 videos in an hour and remember almost none of them. You consume more, but experience less. This may be one reason the old internet feels richer in memory. There was less of it, and because there was less, we gave more attention to what we found. There was also something strangely human about the internet's imperfections. Old websites were often terrible. They had flashing text, broken links, bad colors, music that started without warning. Some looked as if they had been designed by someone who had discovered HTML that morning. But that was also what made them interesting. You could feel the person behind them. A fan page existed because someone loved a band, film, or game enough to build one. A blog existed because someone wanted to write, even if only 20 people would ever read it. A forum existed because a small group of strangers cared deeply about one specific subject. These spaces were imperfect, but they had identity. Today, most of the internet takes place inside a small number of platforms. Every profile fits the same template. Every video enters the same feed. Every post competes using the same numbers. Views, likes, shares, watch time. The old internet looked worse because people were making places. The new internet looks better because people are filling slots. And as these places disappeared, the way we behaved online also began to change. There was a time when posting online did not automatically mean creating content. You uploaded a blurry photo. You wrote a strange status update. You shared a song lyric with no explanation. You were not building an audience. You were talking to people you knew. Of course, people wanted attention then too. The old internet was never innocent, but the scale was smaller. A bad joke usually remained a bad joke among friends. Today, almost anything can escape its original context. A private moment can become public entertainment. An awkward sentence can follow someone for years. So people begin to manage themselves. They choose the right angle. They rewrite the caption. They delete the post that performs badly. They think about how an experience will look before the experience is even over. A meal becomes a story. A holiday becomes a collection of posts. A personal opinion becomes a possible controversy. You are no longer only living your life. You are watching yourself live it. And once everyone begins performing, the internet becomes less like a conversation and more like a stage. But the biggest transformation was not visual. It was not the move from computers to phones. It was not the death of blogs. The real turning point came when the internet stopped organizing itself around what you chose to follow and began organizing itself around what would keep you engaged. Chronological feeds became ranked feeds. Subscriptions became recommendations. And from the platform's perspective, this made sense. There is too much content for anyone to process. Algorithms help filter it. They can introduce you to music, ideas, and creators you might never have discovered alone. But the system is not only asking what you like, it is asking what makes you stay. And those are not always the same thing. You may like a thoughtful video, but an argument may hold your attention longer. You may enjoy a calm article, but outrage may make you comment. The system does not need to hate you. It does not need intentions at all. It only needs a measurable goal. And when the goal is engagement, human emotion becomes raw material. At this point, it would be easy to conclude that algorithms simply ruined everything. But that explanation is too simple. The old internet had serious problems. It was less secure. Information was harder to verify. Harassment, scams, and toxic communities already existed. And modern platforms have made the internet available to billions of people. The past was not perfect. In many ways, it was worse. So yes, nostalgia is editing our memories. But nostalgia does not always mean the past was better. Sometimes it reveals what the present is missing. People do not miss slow downloads or broken websites. They miss agency. They miss smaller communities. They miss reaching the end. They miss making something without immediately asking whether it will perform. They miss finding things because another person chose to share them, not because a system predicted their behavior. And now, the internet is changing once again. For most of its history, you could assume that an article, image, or comment had been created by a person. Maybe it was brilliant. Maybe it was terrible. But someone had chosen to make it. That assumption is disappearing. Images can be generated in seconds. Voices can be copied. Comments can be automated. Entire websites can be filled with material no one deeply wanted to create. Artificial intelligence can help people make extraordinary things, but it can also make content nearly infinite. And when content becomes almost free to produce, human attention becomes even more valuable. This may explain why imperfect images suddenly feel comforting. A blurry photo is evidence. The bad lighting proves the moment was not optimized. The awkward framing suggests someone was actually there. We are beginning to value flaws because flawless content no longer proves that anything real happened. So why does everyone miss the old internet? Not because it was technically better. It was not. Not because it was safer. It was not. People miss it because it felt like a place made by humans. A place you entered deliberately. A place where communities could remain small. A place where not everything was competing for maximum reach. Tomorrow, you will probably unlock your phone without deciding what you want to find. Something will already be waiting. A video, a controversy, a recommendation. The old internet asked where you wanted to go. The new internet has already chosen a direction. Maybe we do not really miss the old internet. Maybe we miss the version of ourselves that still believed it belonged to us.